Okay, beautiful humans, we are going to talk about the sacred roles and just to kind of unpack them a little bit more, give a little more context for them so that you can really start to see. So the explanations that I'm going to be giving in this video are kind of the overall big picture pieces of the sacred role, but then each of your roles have a different title, a different role. There's different pieces of that role brought into it. So this is just the overall, you can kind of think of this as the archetype. So the dreamer, the healer, the shaman, the sorceress is a bit of an archetype. And then the other pieces that are part of it, your direction, and then the color that came forward is also feeding the soul gift and the sacred direction that is creating that sacred role. So this is where you're going to kind of take this as a preface, and then you're going to be able to look at your title that you received and really start to create your own version of the sacred role. You can visualize this, you can create like a avatar for this, you can create a code of conduct for this, you can create a mission statement for your sacred role, you can really start to pull together the pillars of this sacred role. You can start to work within your dream time of understanding what is the purpose of this sacred role to me. What do I need to understand of this? So this means you can sit with your altar. This means you can sit with your higher self. This means you can work with, as we move through the totems and high council after this, beginning to really get them to help you understand that sacred role in a different way. Okay. So we're working with the dreamer, the healer, the shaman, and the sorceress. And so this is a teaching that was passed down to me from my teachers. And so everyone in our physical world is a dreamer. We all are dreamers. We all started as dreamers, and there are things as sacred dreamers, but we are all dreamers. That's why we all have a dreamer. And that is the version of us that is in the astral planes, that is working from our soul space, that is creating the world in which we are here to create. Each of us have a complex and simple soul mission that we are here with, and our dreamer helps us get there. Our dreamer is what feeds our actual dreams, our manifestations, our goals, our wants, our vision of the world. Our dreamer is how we dream the world into creation. So we all at a heart have a dreamer, and we all have a dream time. However, as some of you already know, there are sacred dreamers in the world, and this means that, so we're going to start with the dreamer. So when there's a sacred dreamer, this is someone who holds an innovative view for the world, that your soul came here with a view, with a mission, with an understanding of wanting to bring a different reality, wanting to birth a new world. And we're also in a time of the age of the Aquarius, which is all about innovation. This is all about doing things differently. This is all about finding a new way forward. And Aquarius is all about doing things outside of the box, being the quote unquote rebel, doing things from a very different lens and not necessarily following what has been done before. So those of you who are sacred dreamers, this is where right now your dream time, your purpose, your soul mission is being amplified. You are being called on a deeper level than ever to really use that dreamer, to really anchor in that mission of the sacred dreamer, because there are things that are changing that you're here for, that this is why you're so incarnated and the timing that it did, because this is where you're really needing to understand the purpose of your dreams and how those need to be broadcasted into the realm. So this sacred dreamer is all about innovation. There is no limitation to a sacred dreamer. Birds are just like fucking going wild outside my window. So if you keep seeing me look that way, it's just me watching the birds. They're just like, obviously lots of messages coming in with this. That there's no limitations to the sacred dreamer. That this is where if you have blocks and you have limitations, they are self-imposed. They are from shadow. They are from your own subconscious, because the sacred dreamer actually does not have limitation, and they tend to see the world from a very possible lens, that everything is possible, anything can be done, there is no limitation. And this means they have a huge imagination. They can think of things, they can see things. They have very much that like childlike ability to dream that has never been lost, that they have such an active imagination that they're able to really conceptualize and overcome any kind of challenge and see that challenge as an opportunity. So if you are a sacred dreamer and you are getting stuck in challenges, that is that piece of like, what is the opportunity here? What is the opportunity this challenge is asking me to see? Because this is a part of my role. This is a part of my makeup, my soul blueprint, because this is where I feel inspiration from. This is where dreamers struggle with actual completion. They really struggle when they get stuck in the details because they are not meant to be detail people. They are meant to have the dream, have the vision, bring it to life, and then call in supports, delegate things, have someone to take care of the finite details, because it's that piece of like, they will sometimes very often get stuck in the creation process and then just never complete dreams whatsoever. So oftentimes I'll see sacred dreamers and people when they literally have all these incredible ideas, but they just don't know how to finally close it. This is where the sacred dreamer also has an immense amount of faith in humanity. So these people tend to really be compassionate, tend to always give people other chances, to really think that the world can change and be a different place. This is where play and joy is a vital experience for the sacred dreamer. Your inspiration is how we live a new world. So this is where oftentimes when we think of the sacred dreamer, things of movies, music, books are all people who are sacred dreamers and they don't even know it. Things like Walt Disney, people who are like incredible musicians like Bach and Shakespeare and things like that, they were incredible dreamers because they were literally, and we refer back to their work now, that they were literally dreaming the world into creation. And when you start to see that, it's actually really cool to see sacred roles in action. Okay, so then we're going to move into the healer. So the healer is often, I can't even say that. They're like showing me a 50-50, that it's like some healers are forged in darkness by having to go through such trial and tribulation, and some healers are here purely in light. And so it's that piece of like finding that balance between the two, because both are necessary. And it's depending on the medicinal need that is being called and being required, that obviously, and I struggle with this. I literally was telling Elise the other day that I struggle with this so hard, because I struggle with people only wanting to do the light and fluffy work, that people only want to see healing in that lens of like ease and light and fluffy and things like that, because we need a balance. We can't just have one or the other, and that's where we need to find that integration of both. So the healer is here to really bring restoration, to the mind, body, and spirit. It is here to be soul care. So this is that piece of, just because people are nurses, doctors, things like that, does not mean that their sacred role is healer. They could be a dreamer, innovating a new way of being. They can be a sorceress, where they are literally wanting to like experiment with the body and understand these innate workings. That just because people are in these healer roles that we've assigned in society does not mean that they are actually healers. And so there is this piece of like, healers are also here to create growth. They are here to birth. Oftentimes midwifery, things like that are very much healer roles, because that is bringing growth and bringing death. That's a huge polarity of the healer, that it's that piece of like, it's not just here to heal, it's to heal it. Healers are here to hold both ends of the spectrum. They're here to really navigate that passageway. And that's like, when I look at my career in nursing, I just laugh now, because I didn't even really know it was happening until I was in the middle of it. But literally my two specialties that I worked in was delivery and then cancer care, that I was literally holding people's hands and like being in their final weeks of being on this earth. So there's this piece of like, as healers, we are here to honor both ends of the spectrum of life and to really honor both sides of it. Healers are here to bring unity. So oftentimes people may be working within a corporation, they may be working within a foundation, they may be working within a school board or something like that and be a healer sacred role, because they're here to bring unity. They're here to bring healing. That when we talk about the healer, it's not just to the physical body. It can be healing the land. It can be healing the way of learning. It can be healing literally anything, and that it can't stay in a box, that it's this piece of bringing complete acceptance into something, bringing awareness around wounding and giving that wisdom. So this can be people within government and in the Senate, that they are literally taking world wounds and bringing them into a solution and wisdom to create new policies, to create new protocols. So there's this piece of really starting, when you look at your sacred role, what is the entire encompassment of this? Have I put it in a box? Have I put this idea in a box? So oftentimes the healer archetypal things were witches, priestesses, midwives, medicine keepers. And so in our common day, this can be seen as intuitive people, caregivers, nurses, therapists, and then anybody who's really wounded. That oftentimes there has been a lot of wounding to someone, it is likely initiating them into a healer role, because it's that piece of giving that wisdom. So the interesting piece with the healer is actually not the one that does the healing. The healer is, from what I've understood it to be, and I feel it within my own space, is the healer is here to be a vessel. So when someone has the sacred role of a healer, we are here to be a vessel for creator, for light, for healing to move through to what we are healing. So this is where the healer actually shapeshifts into the shaman. So when there is a great amount of healing that is required, the healer sacred role will shapeshift into the shaman, where we will go and we will become the shaman, and we will become the vessel for shaman to work through and to provide that healing, because it's not actually us doing the healing. It is just us opening our vessel, opening our channel in order for that shamanic light or shaman to work through us, shamanic practice, shamanic light. That is how healing actually comes, because the shaman is the balancer, the harmonizer, the integrator. That this is where, when we talk about, I'm going to go back to the healer. So this is where, when the healer needs that greater capacity for healing, then that shapeshift into shaman comes in. And it's this piece of really understanding, what am I here to bring healing to? And that when you're in the role of healer, it will never stay consistent. And I'm feeling this right now within my own space, that this is asking me to shift and move things, because what I was doing for the last 5 years is no longer required, is no longer needed in the same way, in the same capacity. So I'm having to shift and move things because the world has evolved. Things have moved. We can't keep healing the way we've always done, because that is no longer relevant, and that should be healed by now. If it has truly been healed, then that means you can't keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. Okay. Then we move into the shaman. So this is something that I feel is fucking grossly misunderstood, because everybody's a shaman, everybody has shamanic practice, but people, I feel, don't truly understand what the sacred role of shaman is. So the shaman is here to be the harmonizer. The shaman is here in connection with all the laws of nature and all of the elements. So when we look at the shaman is a direct cord of Mother Earth. So this is where for shamans, everything the earth is feeling, everything that is being channeled through ley lines, through energetic grids, through Mother Earth and all of her elements, all of her forces of nature, that will be felt by a shaman. So this is where their connection to the land and their connection to balance is absolutely fucking crucial. And this is where the shaman provides balance. The shaman provides harmony. The shaman needs to find what it actually means to be in balance with the earth, with the elements, with themselves. And then that is where shamans can sometimes have a very hard time being in their human physicalness, because our human physical life is very imbalanced. We are very much out of association with the elements, out of association with our four bodies. And this is where for the shaman role, this is that piece of like your four bodies need to be your fucking top priority, because if those four bodies are not in balance, everything else then starts to feel out of balance and you won't even really know why, never mind what's being influenced by the earth and coming into your space. The shamans hold the vision and healing wisdom of what is being called and required. This is that piece of like they shapeshift into literally anything and everything. So the shaman is the spirit guide, the shapeshifter, the visionary, the bridge between realms, the Animunde. So all pieces of creation are a part of the shaman. So that's where in a lot of like texts and books and things like that, you'll see the shaman displayed with like different totem pieces and faces, where the shaman is a part of creation and creation is the shaman. That it's this piece of like everything is interconnected, everything is interwoven, and there's no lines. So this is where the shamans can kind of feel like I'm not special, I'm not anything different, this just is. So for this to be something that has become so centralized in society, just like completely fucking misses the boat of what a shaman is, because the shaman doesn't think they're special. The shaman understands that they are an integral part of creation, and that without them and without creation, there would be no sense of being. There would be no life force. There would be no healing. There would be no vision. And so it's this piece for everybody to now be like, becoming a shaman literally goes against the entire purpose of the shaman. The shaman has very much the like feeling of the wounded healer, which is why when really big healing is being called in and channeled, that is why the healer shifts into the shaman, because the shaman has that ability and that capacity to open all channels of creation to provide that healing to happen. So for me, with me being in the sacred role of healer, it's that piece of I have a specific shaman guide that helps me and steps into my space when there is something that is bigger than what I can provide, that I know that something is being channeled and it is big when that shaman steps in. And then the last piece for the shaman is it is descendant of all lineage. So the shaman holds a lot of ancestral wisdom, a lot of ancestral trauma, and a lot of like human experience. Is kind of the way that they're showing it to me right now, is like the shaman understands the evolution of human, and not necessarily in a good way, that we have lost connection to the land. And I feel like this is why, again, Indigenous medicine has come to such a forefront, because there has been such a need for the shaman to regain balance through our human greed, through our human expectation of Mother Earth, through our raping and pillage of the land, of the resources, of the elements, that the shaman has stepped forward big time and said this can no longer fucking stand. But now we're fucking raping and pillaging this understanding of the shaman. It's just like, it blows my mind. So when the shaman feels lost, when the shaman feels depressed, when the shaman has that imbalance, this will feel like a lack of life. This will feel like you can't function, because the shaman needs life force because it's a part. And this is that piece too of, I've even been watching just like how this spring has evolved, and there's this piece of it keeps wanting to snow. It keeps wanting to bring this coldness in. It keeps wanting, the earth still wants to rest. It is almost not ready for spring. It's almost like Mother Earth is not ready for all the hustle and bustle and growth. And so I'm interested to see what the plants and things like that do this year, because I'm questioning if she has enough energy to really give the amount of life that is going to be required this year. Okay. And then lastly, the sorceress. So the sorceress is a powerful role. And all of the roles are powerful and all of them are completely vital. There is no one that is greater than the other. And that's our humanness that wants to prioritize something or to see one better than the other. But again, just like our 4 bodies, these 4 roles are absolutely integral into how our world functions. So with the sorceress, this is the triple goddess. This is the maiden, the mother, and the crone. This is how we see the good of all. This is where the alchemist duality brings unification, that the sorceress will often have very polarizing life experiences. The really good and the really bad, the really happy and the really sad. That there's this piece of like the sorceress holds a lot of shadow and she operates mostly out of shadow, because oftentimes when there's this kind of innate power within something, this has to be hidden because it wants to be taken away. People are greedy, people don't like it, it's targeted. So oftentimes sorceresses feel a lot of shadow around being who they are, around owning their power, around understanding themselves, that for much of their life they've usually tried to cut that off and shut that out because it hasn't felt safe to be their innate role. But this is that piece of like this is the creatrix role. So this is where when sorceresses are really in their power and understand themselves and understand their mission and their piece of why they're here, they are here to create. They are here to give life. They are here with fertility in the way of creating things, bringing things to life, taking nothing and building it into something. And this is that piece of like the creatrix needs balance. So this is that piece of where this is a teaching that was given to me, and I believe in it. I've had conversations with other practitioners and they don't necessarily agree with it, so you can take this or leave this for what it feels like for you. But I was taught that all sorceresses need a shamanic partner, not necessarily their life partner, their sexual partner, or anything like that, but that sorceresses need a shaman role in order to help them stay in balance. Because when there's that kind of unfettered power, when there's that ability to create, it's almost like sometimes that can become addicting. Sometimes that can become something that is like, you can grow too much, you can create too much, you can have too much power, right? And so there's this piece of like, it was a teaching to me that all sorceresses need a shaman to help balance them and bring them into that place of really being able to understand their power and check their power, or at least just help and hold that space for them. Because again, this is where the sorceress has become demonized, especially in women, that it's this piece of like where women, their emotions got the best of them, where they all of a sudden got greedy, or they all of a sudden had too much power. And there's a part of this that the sorceress is ruled by the moon. So anyone who has a sorceress sacred role is very emotional. Their emotions are tied to fucking every aspect of their life. So this is that piece of, if they don't feel their emotions, they're not connected to their power. Or if they feel their emotions too much, then their power is like a garden hose with full blast and you can't get a hold of it. So it's this piece of like, with that sorcerer's sacred role, being in tune and navigating your emotions and navigating the movement of the moon is absolutely vital and integral, because this is again where a lot of ceremony, a lot of ritual will also be moved around and really understood by. And this is that piece of like, the more that you lean into the moon phases within this sorceress role, the more you'll be able to move with your intuition and actually begin to understand when these things are being illuminated and when they're asking you to go inward. I'm just asking if there's anything else. Okay, I think that's it. So if you gals have any questions, please let me know. I'm not seeing anything else coming up. So that was just kind of a little bit of a further understanding of the sacred roles. And this is that piece of like, the sacred role is really here to help you find your medicine, your power, and what it is that you are here to grow into, and to really understand the potentiality of what it is that you are here to work with. What did your soul come here with the mission of? So if there's any questions, pop them below in the comments, and I will be looking back at these. And then I will also be recording the High Council and Totem Dream here today. And then we will have that to also work with. Okay,